Ready to results, search engine optimization explained. You are now tuned in to another show, another episode, another great time that we actually connect together and have great conversations like this, especially when it comes to AI results. I've seen a lot going on, and I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about AI and also dominating AI search results in a way that you can actually quantify how they're being dominated, where they're being dominated, and if they're being dominated, then where can you also have your dominance? Because if you think about your domain authority, your business, your content, anything that's going to allow you to be very specific and also high key based is going to start off with where you show up online. And there are going to be a lot of things that are going to play a big factor into it. And I said today, I'm going to talk about this and bring it to you for about an hour so that if you have any questions, you can put the links in the chat. Any questions, you can raise your hand. You can come up on stage, you can talk. Feel free. This is a free space. We're in the marketing club where we host 351,000 members. I'm one of the leaders here, and I've been active here since 2021. Been on Clubhouse since 2020, and just doing these rooms either live, pre-recorded, or doing them at any time has been very exciting to see. And I've seen a lot of amazing success here just by connecting people all over the world. And I felt like, yeah, if I'm able to talk about things here, why not? Because if I'm able to listen to information that is being given to me and I can understand what's going on, I can help you to also see how to also show up in those results because everyone is talking about something different, right? I was talking with somebody from Australia on LinkedIn, and he's talking about Pinterest and talking about how social media and search engines are also playing a big role in their world, right? It's a different thing. I talked about an amazing friend from the UK now. I think she's a friend now. She's definitely a friend now. And we connected on LinkedIn, and she even said, "Hey, I listened to the episode about what, and you shouted me out, and I'm listening to it again." And I'm like, okay, she's going to listen to this one too. And it means a lot. You know, when someone's saying that, they could be doing any other thing but listening to you. But the fact that they are, it means that there's something you have or something you're saying that's resonating with them. So I really appreciate each and every one that listens to at least a second here because that second is precious to you and I take it very seriously. So thank you so much for listening. Ready to dominate AI search results? SEO Explained is the room today. And if you want to dominate AI search results, artificial intelligent search results, the first step, right? The first step is to create content that is going to allow people to find your content on the web so that you're able to still retain dominance. And when I think about dominance or dominating, I'm not just thinking about being an alpha or being like just overbearing. No, I mean leading with example, by example, from example. And here's an example. If you want to be a leader and you want to dominate AI search results and you talk about flowers, right? Let's say you sell flowers, you're a florist, and you have different types of flowers. And these flowers are based on how they're grown in the season. Right now we're in the summer season. So there's going to be a different, you know, idea of what kind of flowers you want to see. So those flowers are going to be very specific on how you're going to retain that information back. So if I like flowers and I love exactly what I'm smelling and I want to feel like, okay, I want to know what flowers to buy, then I'm going to type in or I'm going to ask ChatGPT or Siri, hey, what is this? Or where can I find this? The next thing you start realizing is that things start to change. And future of SEO going down, Hunter, let's debate. Let's talk about this. I just got off a call with somebody else and he was saying about, oh, how people are saying is SEO dead? I'm listening to things everywhere. And let me tell you the 100% truth. The same way email marketing is not going anywhere, SEO is not going anywhere. The same way you're not going anywhere is the same way I'm not going anywhere. What's changing is how people are actually doing SEO. And actually, let me say it this way. SEO right now is literally exposing people who don't do SEO at all. That's why I'm excited about AI right now, because it's exposing the fakes. It's exposing the people who don't know how to do SEO, that people talk about it. I have clients, we talk about it with people, and we're like, oh yeah, SEO, da, 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 da. It's not working the way it's supposed to. We're not gone are the days that you're doing traditional search. So the way SEO is done is different. What people are not getting is they're taking the word SEO and throwing it down like it's a brick. Yet SEO is pretty much a DNA of a website. If you don't have SEO on your website, you have completely no structure online. It's like saying you have a house with no bricks, with no walls, with no windows, with no frames. That's not a house. That's a mess. So when you think about your website and you're creating content, your goal is to make sure that you are also applicable to the web through search engines. And how does this apply? I talked about this earlier this week on Monday about SEO, AIO, GEO, AEO, SXO. I talked about these tools, these platforms, these acronyms, whatever you want to call them. These are the times that your website needs to dominate. Because if you don't have access to the web, meaning that your information, your website, your content is not being seen or even being attributed to or even being suggested by AI, then your website has no SEO at all. Because what the whole point of you having SEO for is so that you have a branded mention. That's the goal. Your website has a URL, Uniform Resource Locator. Because you have a resource locator, the location has a name and you have a name. The same way I have a name, you have a name. And that name is the name that you're called. And whenever you're called, that's what you respond to. So if you take that same effect to your website and your name is https://www.yourdomain.com, and then the citation is coming from a website.com pointing back to you according to this is what your example is. That example you're getting is from the context of the question that you asked. So if you want to be dominating in that result search base, your goal is to, first of all, look at your website and ask yourself if your website is, first of all, connected to the Search Console. Is your website connected to Google Search Console? Is it connected to Bing Webmasters? Is it connected to Yandex? Is it connected to DuckDuckGo? Is it connected to these platforms that we ignore? But this is where the market share is. If you're thinking about market share, right, there's something called TASM, right? Total addressable search market. If your audience, client, base, whatever you want to call it, avatar, is not in that total addressable service market, there's no way you're going to move from a total addressable search market to a service obtainable search market. It's not going to happen, because if I'm searching for milk and you don't drink milk, why would you be looking for milk when that's not what you search for? So if I'm knowing that people that like milk or love to drink milk, love almond milk or coconut milk or whatever milk they want to drink, then that's because that's what they're used to doing already. So when you're getting into the AI search results, thank you, Peace. When you're getting into the search engine results page, you're thinking about AI now as a place to dominate based off of questions. There's something called zero clicks now, right? Zero clicks is another way of just saying that Google search is, if you ask Google right now on AI overview or AI mode, it's going to give you a response. That response has no reason for clicking. Oh, you want to know how long it takes, what's the weather, or how many grams equals this. Whatever you're getting is a representation of information that doesn't allow you to click. You don't need to, but you can, because there are citations next to it. But who is the person giving that information to AI? That's the real question. If it's not you, it's your competitor. Because the same question you're going to ask ChatGPT, if you're the answer to your own question, that means somebody else is going to hear your answer. Instead of you hearing yourself all the time, somebody else can hear you too. But the fact that you're also the answer to that question means that you have dominance in that niche. So when you're thinking about dominance and creating AI search results, you're asking yourself, am I on these platforms? Number one, be on Google Search Console. Then number two, import your Google Search Console data and import it into Bing. When you import it into Bing, now Bing is Microsoft. There's a website. I don't know if you've heard of this before. If you have, you've probably listened to the episode before. There's a website called you.com. If you've never heard of it, check it out. It's called you.com. You.com is an AI search engine, right? And right now they've actually evolved, super evolved. Because I remember when they first started, when ChatGPT was 3.5, they had this open space where you could just type in anything and it's powered by Bing, powered by Microsoft Bing. So when you look at you.com, now they've turned into a whole workspace for productivity, right? Now you ask yourself, okay, what's going on here? Where are we going with AI, right? Because you're thinking about creating content that is going to allow people to connect back with you. So when you think about these platforms, you're also asking yourself, okay, am I on this platform? Am I on Google? Am I on Bing? Yes. Am I on Google? Yes. All right. Where else should I be on? If you're on those other platforms, it doesn't stop there. The next thing is with AI search results, majority of the answers that are coming are in form of authorship, right? Authorship, meaning that if you're the author of the blog that is published on the web, if you're the author of the book that is published on the web, if you're the author or the host of the show that is published on the web, then the author contains a name and that name contains context. So if people are looking for a brand and your name is a brand, then the brand you're also representing is also going to be applicable to how you show up on the search results. So if someone's going to ask a question about a certain topic, the answer you're going to get is coming from a certain base, a search base. Now, that search base is now coming from a place that you're able to detect and say, okay, if this is a, a text base that is coming from this source, then I know that this information is going to give me more resources because I've clicked on one link that's leading me to the next. Now, with the AI search results base, you're looking at AI as a place to gain trust because most times right now, when people are using AI search results or getting results from AI, most people are trusting AI search results because AI is giving you a recommendation that you are trusting. If you ask ChatGPT a question and you get a response, that response is what you're going to feel like, oh, okay, it gets me, or he gets me, or she gets me, because you've been able to personalize it. Now, that's an internal thing that's going on. If you want to now dominate the search results, it now requires for your website to now be in control of the conversation. In other words, your website should have content. Your website should have information. Your website should have links online. Links. You send an email, there's a link. You send social media, there's a link. Everywhere you go, there's a link. Anywhere you go, there's a link. These links have traffic. They have traffic base. So if you know that your link has juice or your link has some type of connections, then that's a good thing because you know that that link has credibility. When you hear dominate AI search results, don't just think of the word dominate, think of the word domain, right? When you have domain, that domain is going to be a place that's controlling the whole system, right? So when you're having dominance online, it means that you're covering topics by question. So if there are 5 questions about your business, you should have 5 answers in form of 5 links that talk about 5 different things that will still represent the same question. So when you have 5 different ways of answering this question, and people are answering this question in different types of ways, then you're the person that they're going to listen to. because you keep showing up for the same results every day. Eventually, now you're the person that they're referring to because of that niche. So, how you answer these results is putting them into Word, putting them into a sequence, putting them into a podcast, putting them into a video, because these results are coming from a place. And the best thing about when you think about all these things really is AI search results are coming from websites. That's the 100% truth. AI search results are coming from websites. They're coming from citations. They're coming from platforms that already have authority. They already have authority somewhere, and now they're being suggested to you as a reference or as a link or as a citation. So if you're looking at SEO differently, it shouldn't change, because some people will say SEO is dead. And I'm wondering, huh? Okay, maybe you're in the wrong business, or maybe you're in the wrong industry, or maybe you don't know what's going on, because people will be quick to say, this is happening. Oh, yeah, it's not working. Okay, cool. But in my mind, I'm like, what is not working? Maybe you're not working the platform, or maybe you don't even know what is working in the first place. There's some things that do not go without being done. Those are non-negotiables. Your website, your name, address, phone number, that's going to be consistent. And address does not mean your address. I've said this before. It could also mean your virtual address, meaning your www.domain.com, your address, because that is a virtual address. It's a uniform resource locator. That's what you say. Here's my URL. We just throw the word out there, but if that URL is not locating exactly what I'm trying to resource or give you information about, then the whole point of that link is a waste, because homepages, great. You can see everything there, connect, build, have a great time. Those are things to do. When you start thinking about the long-term effect of these things that you're doing, it helps you to also understand, okay, where are we really going with these results? Are we answering these questions? And are we doing them in a way that gives us dominance? So if you're looking at answers, you want to ask yourself, okay, where can I even find these questions in the first place? I want to tell you today, this is where you're going to go to. I've talked about this before, and I'll keep talking about it so that you can keep getting information about this. Go to Ethio, Etheo, Ethio. Go to ethio.co, right? Etheo.co. Go there. Put your website. See what questions people are asking AI about your business, and then get the results and answer those questions in form of podcasts, in form of blogs, in form of infographics, in form of FAQs. Those are things that you can do. If you can do them well, great. If you can't do them, hire someone to do them. But when they're done, you'll be so happy you did, because you realize that there's really no competition out there. When you really think about the internet, a lot of people are on social media, but not a lot of people are on search. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, a lot of people are searching on the web, but not a lot of searchers or search results are coming from the same volume. So there's a huge landslide. It's like I'll call it, the equilibrium is not even equal, because there are a lot of people searching. There are 8.5 billion searches a day. That's more than the total population of the world that's searching a day on Google only. So just imagine if your website is showing up in the results, and then about 15% of the searches are new. So if you're getting 15% new searches, that means in your Google Search Console, if you ever see one impression, you're part of that 15%, because one impression means one person. We always see 10 impressions, 15 impressions. That's 10 people. Those are people that could change your life. So don't ignore the impressions, because they are impressed. If you're not impressed with something, you're not. But if you are, then you will be. And you will feel impressed because of the response you get or you feel. So when you start getting those impressions, that is a signal for you to now say, okay, if this is what people are looking for, let me give them more content. Because the more content you're able to give someone, the more you're able to respond. So AI search results within Ethio will give you 5 answers. or 5 questions. Those 5 questions, you can create 5 answers, and you could split it up. Because when you answer those questions, how will AI know? Because this is the million-dollar question. How will AI know that I have an answer to the question that people are asking? That's the major question that we want to figure out. How will they know? How will AI know? How will they know? How will they know? The answer to that question is they're going to know, or AI is going to figure that out or give you that long-term benefit when, and this is very important, right? When you have your website connected, completely connected, not just partially connected, but completely connected to Bing Webmasters. And that is the secret code. Like, if you don't get anything from this room today, please get this. If you want to be on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Cloud, your website needs to be on Bing. Bing, just Google Bing, B-I-N-G, Bing Webmaster Tools. Just check that out, get it connected. It's free. And then you start building links that your website can start to link back to. Because it doesn't stop there. You don't just connect and say, yeah, we connected. Great. If you're connected, okay, what are we doing with the connection? Are we making connections with our links, or are we just showing up because we have a page or website? So it's very important to think about these things in 2025, because we're coming to a time now that search is getting more and more sophisticated and people are asking more and more questions. So the more questions people are asking, the more results people are demanding, right? And if you're on demand as a website, as a business owner, then your goal is to make sure that you can also boost your rankings. You can also have higher performances. You can have better scalability. You can actually look and say, yeah, we can scale this way because this happened. So it's a matter of understanding, how do we actually get to the point where we can see the numbers? And it doesn't have to be something that you have to think about or stress over. It's something that you just have to think, okay, what is the goal? What is the criteria? What are we really, really connecting with? And what can we do to make sure that these things are done correctly? RP up, bro. Please, bro. Please let me know what you said. I'm the in full. I don't know. Maybe you're saying something in the initial, or maybe you said something different, but I want to know what you said. Thank and Ginger, Ryan, Dr. Fashion, Dr. Lisa, and Audrey. You appreciate it. Thank you for joining and being here with us today. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, please put it in the chat. If something strikes your attention, or you're like, oh, I want to ask this question, please feel free to ask, because I would love to respond back to you. So going forward in 2025, especially this is the second half of the year, your website would need to have fresh content and also updated content. And can you repeat what you said about Bing? Okay, I will. It needs to have fresh content and updated content, because fresh and updated is healthy. Fresh and updated is healthy. Fresh and updated is healthy. Why? Fresh meaning that you have new links, meaning that if you have a query on your Bing webmaster, or you have a query on your Google search console, if it says restaurants near me or spicy food restaurants near me, then if you ask yourself, is there, let me just give this an example, and I'll finish by saying this. If there is a spicy food restaurant near you, or that is you actually, and on your website you don't have anything that says spicy food restaurant, as I'm talking about like an actual link, like your website.com/spicy dash food dash restaurant. If you don't have anything like that, then it's an opportunity for you to create something like that. And the analogy is, if there's something that you're going to see, let's say there's a room you go to in your house, And that room, you can't access that house, or you can't even access that room because you don't have the key to that room or it's locked. You can't see what's going on in there until you have access through the door. That's only the only way you're going to see what's happening behind the door. So, if you take that same analogy, it means that you have a keyword in your query bar, in your query box, in your query tab, and it's saying spicy food restaurant, but there's no door to open that query to a page that people can click on. Because right now, it's just a key. I mean, you can have a car key, but if the car key doesn't have a car, then that key is not valid. It's invalid because there's no key to attach to the car, or there's no car to attach to the key. That's why it's called a key card. So if it's a key, then the key has to open a door. So your query is a keyword. Your query is a keyword. And if that keyword is in form of a question, then that question has a focus phrase or a focus keyword. If that focus keyword is spicy restaurant, then anyone that does not like spicy food is not going to look for spicy restaurants. And the word is Ethio. Let me say it to you, Audrey. So let me actually put the link in the chat. Okay, copy. Thank God for Apple. Boom. All right, there you go. Ethio.co. That's the link. Or Ethio.co. I got to meet the developer. He's in India. And I connected with him on LinkedIn, and it's a whole wide network. And things are about to change. You're welcome. You're most welcome. Put your website there. It's free right now. It's not going to be free for for a long time. He told me that very soon it's going to be a paid platform, and we're discussing right now. And that's why I told him, hey, you know what? I'm going to talk about it right now, because when that time comes and people start paying for these things, I'll be like, well, I told y'all. But people like to wait till the last minute. So I don't know. I'm just giving you information now because you heard it first from here. So thank you, Ryan, for letting me know that you've used it and it's good. Yeah, it definitely has a bigger attention span. You're able to do a lot. You can answer those questions and really know what you're doing as well. What you thinking, Ryan, about it? Welcome.
Hey, Favour, it's been a minute. But yeah, no, it's good. It's interesting. I jumped on a call with him. It was insightful. And what it made me realize was the game is changing. And if you're not aware of how it's changing, you're going to be left in the dirt. And I'm so happy that I came into this group and you're talking about it, because it kind of made me realize that, hold on a minute, you're still operating and functioning in the old fashioned, even though you are using AI. But I didn't really comprehend the levels in terms of how I should now be structuring what I am putting online and where I'm putting it. So no, it's very good, man. Very good.
Thank you. I'm glad you're using it. And, somebody from the UK, I mentioned this and she reached out to me again today. And I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to shout you out again. Her name is Millie Green. Shout out to you, Millie. Amazing, amazing woman. And she connected with me. She's out there in the UK and she does SEO and digital marketing and she does it really, really well. And she reached out to me the first time and said, hey, I was looking for Pinterest SEO experts and I found you on podcasts. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, from LinkedIn. Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Then we talked again today, and now the conversation is even getting more and more exciting because I'm getting to learn more about how things are going on, because it's not just the US, there are other places, not just North America. So when I'm looking at it from a search engine scientific long-term standpoint, I'm like, okay, people in New Zealand, in Australia, how is it going? Where are people connecting? There's so many looks and crannies that we don't really think about until we realize, and the web is huge, right? It's a small world, but the World Wide Web is really worldwide for sure. And doing these things and doing them now is really good, because anything that you think about right now as a business and the results that you see is as a result of what you've already been doing. So AI is kind of like giving you a result. Let me say it this way. It's kind of AI is giving you a report card of how you've always been performing. If you've always been performing poorly, then AI is going to show you your poor performance. But if you've always been excelling and thriving, then AI is going to show you dominance. So that's why I said earlier, AI is going to expose you because it's going to show really, okay, all these Canva subscriptions or all these Fiverr subscriptions or payments, are they really helping you? Are you seeing yourself move the needle? Are you getting impressions? Are you getting clicks? Are you getting traffic? Are you getting leads? Are you getting more contacts on a weekly basis? Are you running ads? Are you running organically? How are you able to connect and actually, put the dots together? So it's really exciting to see this as well. Ryan, what did you search for? And what did you see? And did you see yourself on the listings? Because you normally get about 11 results.
I was nowhere. I was dead. I couldn't see myself, and it made me realize like there's a window of opportunity for me to quickly jump ahead of my competition if I act now. And that's where obviously I was like, okay, let me take this information and start implementing some of the information that they gave me because I had to call them as well. And now I'm actively changing things and creating content so I can start ranking for some of these key phrases.
Yes, I'm glad that you're doing this now. One thing I will say very importantly too is that if you haven't thought about this, this would be a good time to do it. Podcasting. Podcasting. Because if you really think about it, honestly speaking, if you just really just do a deep dive, voice search optimization or vocal search optimization is highly dependent on keywords. If I ask Siri, Alexa, ChatGPT a question, I'm going to get a very specific answer. And that answer is coming in form of a keyword. So if the keywords AI is responding back to you are in the language, format, style, and tone, and definitely sentiment, because there are three types of sentiments with AI. There's a positive sentiment, there's a neutral sentiment, and there's a negative sentiment. So, however sentimental your links are, I'm talking about your titles. If your titles sound negative, if your titles sound shocking, if they sound clickbaity, if they sound positive, if they sound happy, those are the semantics and the sentimental values that are going to play a big role into how you respond. So if you're writing topics and titles in form of questions, you're already at least 30% ahead of the game. Because if you're answering questions by you asking questions, if that makes sense. Like you write an article, you ask a question, you answer the question. If somebody asks Siri or Alexa a question, you have the question and the answer. Because there's no way you can answer a question if you didn't know what the question was. So you answering the question means that the question was already on your website, already on your podcast, already somewhere that was able to really give you that good feedback. So using that will allow you to know that, okay, podcasting should be the way because you're going to hear Alexa's voice, Siri's voice, Google's voice. You're going to hear Grok's voice. You're going to hear any other type of AI voice, ChatGPT voice. All these are voices. You have a voice too. But if your voice is not even vocally inclined or even vocally or sonically heard through a wave, a sound wave, then it's going to be hard for someone to also know, like, and trust you. That's why people love videos because you can watch someone's video, see their true nature, get to actually see them in their real element. Also, the same thing with audio. You get to hear people's tone because the more you're able to listen to someone, the more you're able to pick out the things that they're saying. And the more you listen, the more you're able to know, okay, this is real, this is not real, this is a fake, this is real. You're able to detect that because you already know what you know. So when you now create a podcast and the podcast answers questions that they're asking. So let's say with you, Ryan, you had 5 questions. I'm sure that you got about 5 questions in the prompt. If you had 5 answers and you answered those 5 questions in form of 5 podcast episodes that could turn into 5 blog posts, which you could post through the website on Google and on Bing, then in the next 5 months plus, you're still the person that's going to be getting those answers to the people that are asking frequently. Not if you only thought about it in one page, but if you also thought about it through different pages. So, this is what I mean. If you answered a question and this question was answered and you answered it very well. Now, the next time you show up and answer this question, you're going to use the last answer you gave as an example to answer the next question. So if I'm talking about, let's say, photography, and I'm saying, hey, what's the difference between color photography and black and white photography? Someone will say the difference is between this and that, right? Now, because you asked about black photography or black and white photography, the next thing is, okay, out of this black and white photography, are there any cameras that I can use for that? Or are there any apps or softwares I can use to create that feeling? The more you're going to answer those questions, there's going to get to a point where the person asking is going to ask for a brand to support the answer. So that brand is where your website comes into play. If you have a product, a service, a link, a podcast, a book, a page, a video, something that's going to be tangible enough that will quantify the answer and also justify you as the authority in that niche, that's how you can be able to start getting those responses. Because dominating AI search results doesn't mean you're dominating it per answer, because that would be a waste of time. If I'm dominating answers, the goal is to dominate the industry you're already working in, but also dominate it through answering questions that people are asking you. Because if someone asks you a question in your business and you have the answer to every question, they're going to trust you. The more they trust you, the more they want to work with you. So that way you're able to really give somebody an understanding and say, yeah, this is exactly where we're going with this answer. And if we can answer this question, then the more questions we answer, the more answers we get. And then that also reveals the more keywords people use. Because when you look at your queries and you look at your pages, especially for your website, I always say this, and this is a good thing because it shows you that you have more reserve. It's like kind of saying you have a checking account, a savings account, a dividends account, or royalties account, however you want to split it out, right? Now, if you have a checking account, those are your pages, right? Your checking account is your pages. All the pages that are driving traffic, getting you leads, getting you sales, that's your page list. Now, your investment account, right, is your query bar, is your query list. Because if you have 100 queries, you might have 10 pages. You're always going to have more queries and pages. You're always going to have more questions and answers. As a business owner, you're always going to have more questions and answers, because the questions people are always going to answer are either going to be new, regurgitated, or old. New, regurgitated, or old. So if you're creating content that's going to allow someone to understand where they're going, then your perspective is also going to help them get to a faster end. So if you can answer these questions and say, for example, you're getting what is marketing as a question, don't just stop there. Go and discover and say, okay, what are the different types of marketing? What are marketing for this, for that? Now, when you're answering those questions, think about your industry. Don't just dominate AI search results because you want to dominate on AI. You're dominating in the areas of interest and in the interests that you want to appeal to, right? So if I'm interested in helping people do Pinterest SEO better or podcast SEO better, that's because I'm answering questions about how people should do it pre, during, and post. So when you're looking at it from a problem solution aspect, as opposed to just answer or question answer aspect, it changes everything. So you use SEO with AI to answer questions that you can turn from queries to pages. When it says, what is investing? Then your website will now say domain.com slash what dash. Actually, let me give you a better example. What is investing would be the title of the topic. Now, the domain URL would be your domain.com slash investing dash insights or investing dash definition. Instead of you saying what dash is dash investing, the word is and all those conjunction words, when it comes to the algorithm and the search based data, those are considered as stop words, right? Yes, we use them as conjunction words to complete sentences, to, have conditional statements. Yeah, great. Algorithm wise, SEO wise, you don't want to use those conjunctions because although, where, thou, no. You don't want to have anything there because what you're doing is that you're creating a stop word, meaning that you're stopping the algorithm from parsing through the text. Because anything that is from the left to the right, just like we read from the left to the right, is the same way the algorithm reads from the left to the right. So if your keyword is all the way to the right, and you started off with episode one, season one, and then your keyword, you've missed the whole bus. Because if you started off with your actual keyword and then ended with season one, episode one, now people understand where you're going because you're showing them where you are instead of where you're going. So if you tell them this is what we're looking for, this is episode three, they'll be like, okay, that makes sense. Let's go to the next point. So doing that is also going to allow you to have a much better dominance because you're answering these questions organically, right? Right now, when you're thinking about AI, nobody's thinking about ads. Yes, they are working. There are platforms that you can actually run ads with AI. There are platforms that we use to use actual AI with Meta, with Facebook, Instagram. We make sure that those things are also connected. But also, you're thinking about dominating the search results because you want to show up for the right reason. That is called GEO. So when I talked about ETHEO, it's generative engine optimization. In other words, can AI generate an answer that can source you as a citation for the answer that they're going to give the respondent to the question or of the question? So if you're not going to be that respondent or you're not that authority, then it's going to be hard for someone to link back to you. But when you start answering these questions and answering them in form of different topics, then more people can now start connecting to you because they keep hearing your name, they keep seeing you online, you keep showing up, and not just for one thing, for more than one thing. It's like your favorite artist or your favorite athlete. They've not won one title or one championship or one song. They have a bunch of them. They have a catalog, they have a discography because that tells you how well they've been pulling the strings for a long time, how well they've been able to reform themselves and also morph out. So if you're doing that with your website as a business, your goal is to make sure that you're dominating AI results by searching. And how are you going to do the search results? It's not just through text, it's through image, it's through audio, it's through video. If you can do these things, text, audio, video, image, and then put the actual keywords, it's going to take you a long way. It's going to be a great thing for you. So if you're just thinking about this right now and you're asking yourself, okay, is this going to work? Then the best answer is, to start thinking about it today and start planning it out. What are you using it for, Ryan? And I know you talked about ideogram too. How's that going?
I've kind of come off ideogram because ChatGPT is doing the business for me. So I've kind of left it alone. And also, what I found when I was testing ideogram versus ChatGPT, ChatGPT was actually giving me better results. So yeah, I've been using that more for imagery. In regards to AI search, just listening to what you said in regards to visual, audio, and text, which is obviously just spread across all mediums. I haven't actually got a strategy yet, but you've just made me think, okay, well, I need to start doing a lot more. So you've got to cover all bases in its most natural form, which is something I haven't thought about. I've only thought about what I'm writing and how I'm writing on page SEO versus doing all the other stuff. So yeah, I'm not there yet, but now that we had this conversation, I'll start thinking about it more.
Love that. Thank you. Yes, we got to start somewhere. And that's why we're doing this so that, we're able to really look at it long term and say that, yeah, we started it early and we're able to do it better than, we could do it ever. Because these things that we're doing now, it may sound like it's so insignificant, but if we do them and we just focus in it 1% every day, we'll be so much further ahead and it can really give us a long term graph. Just knowing that AI trusts you as a source is well enough for you to be positioned as someone of authority because now that suggestion box, that auto suggestion box, if I can put it like that, becomes you being the person of influence to help the person that's actually in need of a solution. So it's not just depending on traditional search engines, but also depending on AI because you're able to do the groundwork and have structured data to formulate those result pages. So I'm glad that you said that, Ryan. And it's different that you mentioned with ideogram with ChatGPT because it's always been there. I feel like for me with ideogram, it's changed the scope of how things are done. And I've noticed it because every episode or every page has a completely different twist and it has a different appeal. But of course, if you now prompt it and say, I need this, I need that, then it will definitely give you those things you're looking for. But I'm glad that we have so many options because AI is just growing and evolving every now and then. So I'm really happy that, you're trying it out and you're trying new things. So thank you for letting me know about Ethio that you're using it too. It helps me because sometimes people don't use it or they say they do and then they're like, eh. So you did it and you actually did it well. So I'm really happy that you're able to give me that feedback. Appreciate you, Ryan, for that. Amazing. John, we'd love to hear from you. How are you? Happy Wednesday. What you working on? And are you thinking about AI search results? And if you are you seeing anything from your dashboard?
I'm having a great day, by the way. So I do use AI tools, and I'm starting to experiment with it for searchability and discoverability for my show, for my website. It's kind of hit or miss. I'm still stuck on the traditional SEO, um, and that the reason why I say that because the SEO, while it really works well for Google, Yahoo, Yandex, all that stuff, it also works well in the podcast directories. And these people search by topics. And 58% of all new shows are discovered by topics, keyword searches. So, yeah, I use that in a typical way I do is I write out my show notes and then I start researching Uber suggests uh, keywords that apply to that episode and then structure my title and my first paragraph around those keywords. So that's how I'm doing it, and it works really well for me. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yeah, podcast is the fastest way to grow. The fastest way to grow. I always say it's low effort, high impact, always. And it's low effort because you're just creating a space that people can feel safe. They can feel connected. They can feel relevant. They can feel heard, right? They can feel seen. They can feel appreciated. So that's not hard to do. You can make a home depending on how you think of your home, and then you build a home based on how you want it to be or you desire it to be. So I'm looking at it from that same concept because when you're creating content and you're making it into a place that people can feel connected to you, then that's where you're allowing them to actually find you in the first place. Because if I'm looking for something and I can't find it because it was named wrong, then the problem is not the product, the problem was the positioning. So, like you said, the keywords are very important, especially when you look at podcasting. Podcasting within the algorithm is different from let me say it this way: the search box on Google is different from the search box on Spotify. The search box on Apple Podcasts is different from the search box on YouTube. Why? Because YouTube and Google will give you broad search results. Why is it broad? Because there's no exact match phrasing and there's no phrase match phrasing. In other words, if you want to find an exact key phrase on Google, you want to put quotation marks in between your keywords so that you can get the exact URL or the exact key phrase within the exact context so that you can get the exact search result. That's how you do it with broad search, because when you type restaurants near me, you're going to get anything and everything around you because it's within a what's a 0.1 mile radius to maybe a 10-20 mile radius, 25-mile radius, depending on how well you want to drive or how well your history has been. Now, if you look at the same effect on a podcast and you're typing it, you don't have to type in the quotation marks on a podcast because Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, it's off exact phrase match. So if I type in food religion, or if I type in space jet, or if I type in tech umbrellas, the way it sounds so confusing, like what are you talking about? That's the exact result that's going to come out. So if there's an exact key phrase that that has keyword search volume, then you know if people type in the word finance or if they type in the word marketing, then you are assured that they're going to get some type of result because there's a huge search volume. So now, how do you fall inside that volume but also still become relevant? It's where you now use your titles and your search boxes, your description boxes to make sure that your links and your connections are also making the same contextual sense when someone's typing it in one sentence or one phrase. So it's very exact match phrase compared to Google because they have a different disparity, but they both do well. If you're able to really know exactly where you're coming from and where you're going with the information you're giving, then it's going to be easy. Because even like your LinkedIn too, if you have a LinkedIn newsletter, think about even the words that you say, because the first 5 to 7 words of your LinkedIn newsletter, when you go to the settings section and you say create URL, you can't change it. As soon as you create it, you can't change it. That's the thing about LinkedIn. You can't change the URL, and URL is like an identification code. Like you can't change your DNA. Even if you tried to, you can't change your DNA because that's who you are. That's who God made you to be. So you can't change some things on the web. Like on YouTube, you can't change the MP4 file name when you upload it successfully, unless you redo it from scratch. But you can't rename it after you've already done it. So there's some things that are irreversible. That's why it's very important to look at the things ahead of time and have a foresight so you don't have to backlog or go back into those things when you could have done it easier or actually triggered them faster. So using these keywords are very important. So when you know exactly where you're phrasing it, then the keywords you use in your titles turn into URLs on LinkedIn. They turn into exact key phrases on your podcast. That's why when you have a podcast title or a podcast episode, any episode you see on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, just put dashes or hyphens in between the words. That's the name of the URL. If you're looking for the resource locator of that URL, just literally put the domain of that podcast slash or .com or .net or .org slash, whether it's podcast or slash episode slash the title. And the way the title is from beginning to end is exactly what the URL is going to be if there's a website connected to it. And that's how you're able to know whether this keyword is actually making sense. Because if the keyword is towards the left of that URL, the faster it's able to understand it. Because if you're giving Google harder work or you're making Google work harder by putting the keyword towards the end of the sentence as opposed to the beginning of the sentence, then you're still going to get a response, but you're not going to be in the lead. You might be seventh place instead of first place because somebody else put it first or thought about the connections first because the URL came first. So everything about URL linking, building, semantics, SEO, they're all connected to the same thing. But if you do it correctly and you have your right titles, do them correctly, it can really help you make those next steps. Like the words you see here, ready to dominate. The word ready is, or when you hear the word ready, you're always thinking about going or go, 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 go. On your mark, set, ready, go. That's because the word ready means that are you ready? If you're not ready, then you're not ready to do it. If you're ready, then you're ready to go. But you have to be ready, set, so you can go, right? You can't go without being ready. So that's why when you use these kind of words, it helps you to understand where people are and how they're able to go and you really make these things work out for them. So thank you so much for that, John. If there's one thing you can tell people about searches, because I know you've done great with SEO as well, with your keywords and also placing them in the right places to actually maintain that, because it's one thing to get there and then it's another thing to keep it. How will you tell someone that gets there to keep it so they don't lose it in the process?
Well, first of all, I'll just go with what I do. And by the way, podcasting, one of the big benefits of podcasting, and Favor talks about this all the time, is think of it as a blog post. Think of it as a web page you're putting up, and you're putting up new content. Some people do it once every 2 weeks. Some people do it once a month. I do it twice a week. So I'm always got new content going up there, and some of those pages rank really well, and are searched quite often. So that's one benefit. Another benefit of podcasting is if you do a free show, your click to conversion ratio is much higher than if people are buying. So if you have, let's just say you sell a book and you also have a podcast and you have your advertisements in about the book in the podcast, um, and that podcast is free, People search a podcast a lot quicker and they develop a relationship with you and they're more likely to turn into buyers. Uh, Whereas if you are lucky, maybe get 2% click conversion ratio if you're selling something. So that's two big things. So what I do is periodically, and I got to do this probably the next week or so, is I go through about once every quarter and I start looking at what episodes of my show are getting the most search. What's the 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 feature in there, because the keywords are all similar. They're not that vastly different. There's a few that are different. What's different, and then go back to underperforming shows and rewrite them keyword specific in ways that are not clickbaity, but really apply to what the episode's about, and see if it doesn't do better. It often gets re-indexed by the search engines, and quite often the traffic is even 5 or 10%. So I do that every quarter. If that's answer your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you. The whole thing that I got from that, and I hope everybody also got this too, is consistency. That's the major word, consistency, because when you keep updating and the more episodes you release, the more it gets more and more tedious. It's like trying to say, oh, I'm going to clean this up next time. I'm going to clean this clothes next time. Before you know it, you got a pile and you can't clean it up because now you're overwhelmed. But if you're able to clean it once, in a while and then do it periodically, it gets better. It's kind of like that 4 hour week concept where you're able to do things at a much faster stretch. So it's very helpful. And I believe that this is where we're going in the future if we think about AI and doing the simple things, which is answering questions, putting them in form of a structured data platform, and then repurposing it to play people that actually want to listen or read it. That way you're able to get more insights, and that's how you're able to get even out there. Even if you use LinkedIn, perfect way to start, because those kind of platforms help you 100% to get to the top by just focusing on, okay, intention and then retention, intention and then retention, because retention comes because you're intentional about what you're looking at. You can't just be intentional without having the right intention. So that just has a big role to play. And I'm happy that we're able to, break this down today when you look at consistency. Thank you so much for that, John. Ryan, what about you? What would you say for anyone that's thinking about, trying to get to these top results and, thinking the way forward to make sure that they can do it in a very professional way, but also not in a laggy way?
Favor, I'm going to be totally honest with you, right? As you guys are speaking, in my head, I'm honestly asking myself, how is this possible for a small business to cover all these bases? Because I'm a small business and I'm thinking, okay, I've got a podcast, I've got to create blogs, I've got to create YouTube videos, I've got to then do social media posts, LinkedIn newsletters, plus add content to the website. Like, it's a lot. So I've got a different question to actually ask you. What one thing would you do out of all the things that you could do to be the most impact? What would be the most impactful in your head for AI search and SEO search?
Great question. If I was to do this all over again, if I didn't have any social media, any presence, nothing, and I wasn't like you didn't know me at all, and I was to do this from scratch with what I know, I would start a podcast. Why? It's free. So when I think about capital, I don't have to worry about that. And just to also give you some insight, because I think this is, and you mentioned something about, it having the, how do I say this? You said something very, very important about having so many things to do at the same time because it gets very overwhelming, right? Now, when I think about the focus point and I'm thinking about what exactly I want to achieve for AI, especially for AI, I'm looking at audio first because if I can answer a question about my business and I've answered it very meticulously, I've answered the question very comprehensively, and I've answered it in a way that after you're done listening, you don't have any more questions. That means that the answer was fulfilled. And if I answer that question in a podcast, that means that my podcast is going to be the source of information. It's like a radio. If I'm on the radio and I'm trying to talk to 50,000 people or 5 million people, then that's because they are tuned in at the time that they are listening. So if people are going to listen at the time that they want to, and you show up, like John was saying, with the exact key phrases, then you've done your keyword research. You know that people want to connect with you. There are certain topics that will keep showing up that you should be showing up for. That if you show up for every time, more people will find you in the process over time, because your podcast is going to be that string that's going to allow people to get to know you better. If I say, hey, I'm looking for mental health podcast episodes, or I need help with this, is there a podcast I could think about? Yeah. You know why a podcast is the best option, Ryan? Because when you do an audio, you don't have to think about text. You've already pronounced the words, you've already vocalized your message. So now you're taking that MP3 or MP4 and putting it into a notebook LM. For example, notebooklm.google.com, you can go there, it's free. But if you have a pro account with Google, you can use their plus account. And you upload that audio. Upload the audio, get your FAQs, get your study guide, you can even get a timeline. You can get an actual timeline. They call it like a, how do I say this? You can get a chart, and you can get that chart and use that tree and then connect it back to you by showing them, hey, we talked about this. These are all the topics we used. And that's a good visual explanation or a visual chart to use it. So when you have a podcast and you answer the questions and you take that audio and you turn it into a text and you have a website already, then everything is going to be interconnected. So you don't have to worry about it, because you're thinking, oh, I got to post social, I got to go to LinkedIn, I got to record, I got to do this. So by the time you think about it, you've not done anything at all. But if you just said, okay, I'm going to turn on this camera, I'm just going to turn on this microphone, and I'm going to answer the question as though somebody is actually listening to me, and I'm being serious with the answer I'm giving them, knowing that they're going to listen to it and actually make a decision off what I say, then how I'm going to present myself will be exactly how you want to show. And then when they listen to it through a podcast episode, and then there's a call to action, say, hey, if this sounds like you, click the link above to book a call with me for the complimentary call, and let's talk. The person that has heard that actually needs the help will raise their hand and actually do that. The one that doesn't need the help or didn't ask for it is not going to do it. You can't force anyone to do anything, but when you're able to give them a voice or give them a platform to respond, then using a podcast will be the best option, because some people have podcasts. There are 4.5 million podcasts out there, but not every podcast is being listened to. How will yours be listened to? That's another question. You'll be like, okay, podcast, okay, that's easy. Now, how do I get listeners? How do I monetize? There's always going to be another question. How people are going to listen to you is based on the episodes that you release in form of the words that you say. So if I know that these keywords are going to be focusing on 5 million search traffic volume a month, and I know with SEO, the average click-through rate is 2.2%, and then with paid ads, we talked about this sometime last week or the week before, the average PPC is about 1.4%. You have a much higher attainability with organic than paid. So you're not using money, you're using time. So what's more valuable to you, time or money? A year from now, would you be wanting to answer the same question you answered last year? Or do you want to be using the question you answered last year to answer the next question that they have next year? So the answer to your question, Ryan, is a podcast. If I was to start this all over again, I would do the same thing I've done now. And that's how I got to where I am now. So I'm only giving you my roadmap of how I got here. Because if it wasn't for podcasting, I would not even be on Clubhouse. Impossible. So that's why, looking at this now, seeing the trajectory of where connections, relationships, authenticity, ethics, it all comes from just being intentional. There's nowhere I would have blogged my way to Clubhouse. Impossible. So it's through talking, through connecting, and then using a platform to now use that as a base to now have those communication systems within an operating system setup. So what do you think? Would you start a podcast too, or would you be like, nah, I'm not doing it?
To be honest with you, I have tried to start a podcast before, but what I found was the podcast topics and what it was based around wasn't directed at the target audience that I wanted. So I stopped it because it didn't serve the purpose that I wanted it to serve. I will most probably start it again, especially after having this conversation, and I'll be more intentional with what I will speak about. The thing with it though, I look at it and say to myself, you need a lot of faith because you can put out a lot of content and it might fall on deaf ears, but potentially it will fall on somebody who is in your target market and will produce something. But I guess it's then to have a strategy which is to, like you said, take the podcast and then transcribe that and break that up into micro pieces and then distribute that onto the social platforms, and you do the same with the videos. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. 100%. Honestly, for any business to grow online, you need distribution. Distribution is going to be your key factor to success online. Distribution meaning that you send your address through different platforms. If my address is website.com, then I need to go to linkedin.com to put my website.com. Then I go to pinterest.com to put my website.com. Then I go to facebook.com to put my website.com. By the time I'm doing that, I've added 3 new links on top of mine to compound the interest from the communities that I'm connecting with. But there's only one way I can do that is through linking. If I can't link with you, there's no way. Just like if I want to get your number and you don't have a phone number, there's no way we can connect because you don't have a number I can exchange with you. So when I'm looking at it from that long-term perspective, you're using links to exchange. That's your asset, your links. So every episode is a link, and each link has a destination. If my destination is going to go to this link, it's because people are interested in this topic. That's where email marketing comes in. So when you think about connecting with people with a podcast is great, but you also need to have an email list because when people are subscribing, yeah, you could have a podcast and you think people are listening. Yes, they are, but are they connected? Are you telling them where to go? Are they listening to the episode and they can actually directly go to your website and actually sign up? Those are questions that if you're able to get the answer to and it's a yes, then you'll always be in business, you'll always be in referral base, you'll always be in advocacy, you'll always have something to say. But if not, it's going to change everything completely. So definitely when you have those things, Ryan, it definitely helps you with your business. So if I was to ask you this, what's the one thing that is slowing you down or stopping you or halting you from, or even impeding you from going further with the podcast?
Nothing's really stopping me. It's more just like you saying, deciding on obviously how much time to put into it and how to structure it. Because when I think podcasts, I think obviously like two people talking, but exactly what you said, which is just answer questions and talk about particular topics. I don't need anybody to necessarily have a conversation with about these topics because I know so much about my sector and what I do that I could just talk about the different aspects of it and use whatever phrases or questions that are being asked online to create an episode based on that information. It's just more to do with starting, really. It's just that's really it. It's just getting it done. And but also, like you said, the consistency part, which is the other challenging part, because you have to be dedicated. Yeah, it's just getting your mind around it and just getting it done and being consistent. Really, that's my only stumbling.
Here's some harsh reality, Ryan, and this isn't directed at you personally, but no matter what kind of, and I'm gonna do a thing on Breakfast of Champions on Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And I say some Favour follows me. The vast majority of entrepreneurs fail. They go out of business. It gets progressively worse the longer they go. They stop doing it because they don't have new customer acquisition skills. They don't dedicate the time to keep the pipeline full. And here's an answer to the time question. I would devote my time to the areas that produce the most results. So if we do a podcast, even if it's only one episode a month, by the way, There's a popular podcast worldwide called Serial. They didn't produce any new episodes for 6 years. It was still one of the top ranked shows making millions of dollars a year because they're always working on marketing. They've content, they can market it too. They can get new customers. Now they're repeating it. So when you put a podcast up, then you can create a blog article from your show notes and speed up your time. Use a chat GPT tool, whatever it is. Rewrite this as a blog article in a third person with quotes, whatever it might be, and then post it. That gives you two things. Then with social media, here's what I do. Focus on the biggest one that gets the most return. For a business, it's about directing traffic to your website. So Facebook has the largest one. I'm on it constantly. And when I schedule a post on Facebook, it's automatically hooked up to my Instagram, which is one of the biggest underperformers that I have, that and X. And then I open a Pinterest business page for free and do a Google search on how to automatically ingest your Instagram content to your Pinterest page. Then you're going to get posts in three different places. The two performers for me, the top three performers are Facebook by far crushes all the other ones. LinkedIn and Pinterest for traffic. LinkedIn and Pinterest are two and three, and they rotate. As far as driving traffic to my website, then we get the click to conversion ratio we got to go into. If it's a free podcast, the click to conversion ratio is about 6%. If it's buying something, I don't sell something, it's about 2%. As Favour said, if you're doing pay per click ads, it's maybe 1.4%. So let's just say 1.4, or just use 2% as an example. That means 98% of the people that visit your website will never buy from you, ever. But man, you can convert a lot of them into podcast listeners and then develop top of mind awareness where they develop a relationship with you. And when they're ready for your product, boom, they come to you.
Exactly. Ryan, do you see the play now?
Yeah, no, totally. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. That makes total sense. So it's funny because I do have Pinterest hooked up to the Instagram, and I have Instagram hooked up to Facebook, but most of my traffic comes straight from Google. I use Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok just to help with my SEO, but I don't get inquiries via any of those platforms. All my inquiries are based from Google, but I am offering a local service, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
Well, it can be, and here's one example I try to tell people. So if we look at the customer journey, typically, no matter what business you're in, no matter what kind of business you do, it's broken into different levels. Now, number one level of the funnel, the most important one, is awareness of you, your product, your service. It is not converting. Number two is developing an interest. Number three is a conversion or the sale. Or actually, interest, then desire, then conversion, then you try to turn them into advocate. You do the word of mouth thing. A lot of people rely strictly on word of mouth, or they focus on conversions and becoming advocates, and they lose sight of the importance of building awareness and building a larger audience. And when you focus on people, and I say this goes contrary to what people hear. What I do is I focus on building a community of what are the people I want, and in that audience is more than likely is going to be consumer and loyal customers. I don't focus on my customers first. I focus on the audience first and the community first.
That's the best part about podcasting because you can start with the community and then bring the product. Because if you want people to get the product, they got to trust the person. You wouldn't buy something from someone you don't trust, whether it's a store, a business, a person. You have to trust the source to buy from the source. Like you wouldn't, if you don't trust that water, you're not going to drink that water. It's that simple. So I think it's the same thing to look at when you're also deciding where do you want to spend your most time. Because if I ask you like this, Ryan, like, what's more important at this time, especially the second half of the year, time or money?
I was also asking myself that question, but I think Obviously, it's no brainer that time is the most important.
Exactly. Time is the most important. And if you can create a way to have more time, then that's a good thing because you can use that time for more things. But if that time is not used in the right places, it'll be hard for you to scale it. And the best place to think about timing is a blog and a podcast. A blog's shelf life is 24 months. A podcast shelf life is anywhere from 24 hours to 5 months. It can even go to 5 years. People listen to podcasts that are 5 years ago. I listened to a podcast from 2020, 2 weeks ago. So it's happening, especially if it's a topic that people are interested in and actually want to listen to it. There's no way. It's literally like direct sales. Like there's no ads, there's no break, there's no commercial. It's straight talk. And that's it. And that's what people like, uninterrupted information. And if you're able to give it to them without going through Facebook, Instagram, and all these platforms where it's noisy, find that, let them find you and connect with you where they feel solitude, where they feel at home, where they feel safe. Then they can go to social media and enjoy, comment, leave a message, do all that great stuff. But when it's time for them to sit down, listen, understand, take notes, and become part of something that way, then it starts to play a big role into how they should receive information just based on the AI results that we're looking at today. So anything you're thinking about, Ryan, John, Dr. Fashion, Dr. Shari, Stephen, Tolu, Daniel, Stella, Amote, Justice, Daryl, Positive, Audrey, and Leary. Anything you're thinking about, and anyone listening to this too, and you're thinking about AI search results in 2025, just add your voice to the search engine by being a guest on a show or being a host of a show. You can be either or. Just be one of them and stick to it, or be both of them and simultaneously work them out. But ideally, if you're able to do these things, it will help. When you go to Ethio, there's some results you get there, and you'll see that the results of the people that you see on Cloud, on Perplexity, on ChatGPT, on Gemini, these are people who have podcasts. We did I'll just give you an example. With one of our clients, we were looking at some search results. She showed up at as position 7 out of 11. She was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm here." I'm like, "Yeah, you're here because we're on Pinterest, we're on Google. It's a no-brainer. We're here. At the top is Tony Robbins. So, and he had about like a good number of mentions. I think like 17 mentions. So we're like, okay, 17 mentions out of God knows how many questions. That's only 17 questions. We can answer more than that. And he probably doesn't know that because, or he does, but when you look at the leaders that are answering questions, the reason why they're even showing up in the AI results is because they answered these questions once upon a time. So that's why they're just showing up by default. And that's also because they have a podcast. Tony Robbins has a podcast. He just updated his podcast cover yesterday. How do I know this? Because we're tracking, because we're able to see these things. We're able to understand that semantics, it's not just guesswork anymore, it's actual work. It's smart work. So if you're able to know these things and know exactly pixels, sizes, know exactly what people are doing, success leaves clues, you'll be good. And it's a no-brainer. So I hope you're able to take this information today and use AI search results to dominate and control your content. So use Notebook LM, use Harpa AI, HARPA, use Harpa AI. That's an agent AI source. Use it, check it out. Go to these sources, connect, let people know about you. And then that way, when you answer questions, people know you. Imagine being in a classroom like back in the day in like high school, when you're in class and you're always the person answering questions. People are going to know you because you're the person that always answers questions. Hey, me. Every time, what's the question? Me, I have an answer. By the fifth week of school, everyone knows you in that class because you always answer questions. That's the same thing we're talking about in a search engine. If you always keep showing up, answering the same questions at different times in different sequences, then eventually you'll be the person that they're going to refer to and say, "Yeah, I know who has the answer to that question." That's it. So it's a really good thing. Daryl, you have a question. I love this. What do you think about people that use Notebook LM Add content that and turn on the audio function, yes. Download the audio and use as a podcast every now and then. Do they interrupt with their own question? That's a great question. I've actually done it. So I can tell you from experience. We recorded an episode, it's out there right now. We recorded an episode, it was about travel concierge. So we featured someone that does travel concierge for clients. And it was about how people travel. I didn't even know this, that people travel for mental therapy. People actually travel for therapeutic reasons. I was like, huh? So it was, I learned more from the people that we work with than they learned from us. So I said, okay, this is very interesting. Let me see what AI is talking about. So we literally went to Notebook LM, uploaded the full episode of the content that we already discussed. And then I now went into the AI, the overview, not the overview, the Notebook LM, and went to the audio section. And I said, generate audio. Now there's a full blown conversation between two AI, a man and a woman, talking about the person that we just featured. So I called it behind the scenes or behind the podcast. That's what I called it. And then it's like a red carpet before you actually introduce the actual podcast show. And surprisingly, people listen to it. And I was like, oh, okay, they like it. But you don't want to abuse it. You don't want to just go crazy or OD. But it's something that you can do if you want to appeal to the audience and also test it out and see if it works, because there are some podcast platforms, like we have a client and she had a problem with her account because it's all AI information, it's all AI, there's no human voice, and she was taken down by a podcast platform. Like Listen Notes does not allow you to have AI podcasts. They actually take down AI podcasts. They even have a chart that tells you how many AI podcasts we took down this month. They have a quota. So it's really real. But if you're doing it and you're mixing human with AI, so technically 90% should be human, 10% should be AI, if you're going to use AI at all, because you don't want it to be 90% AI and 10% human. That's when things go wrong. But you can definitely use that platform and use that function for sure. That was a great question, Daryl. Thank you for the feedback and thank you for raising that up too. So try it out, guys. It's very important to think about this. You're welcome, Daryl. Think about these things, think about these platforms and use them sparingly. Don't just abuse them because they are there to just prompt, but use them in a way that when you get a response, you're like, okay, let me go to the next point, because everything you're doing is going to give you a next opportunity to actually get to the next point. So we've seen it from all industries, all industries. So answer more questions, you get more responses, and you get to connect with more people. That's what we're doing now. So if you answer these questions and you do it, you'll be so much ahead that you'll be so happy you answered those questions, because if the question wasn't clear, the message wasn't passed. And if the message wasn't passed, the goal was not achieved. So if you want to achieve a goal and hit a milestone, then you have to go through the process from pre to post. So, and that starts off with you and what you want to post. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? And then when you say those things and it resonates with the people who are hearing them, then they'll feel connected because you're talking to them and you're not talking at them. That's the difference. And I've just seen it work tremendously. And I just hope you're able to do the same thing too. So thank you for these questions. Anybody has any more questions? Put it in the chat now or forever be silent. So let me know in the chat if you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free. And I hope we're able to cover this. And actually, for feedback purposes, if this topic today made sense and you're able to get some information about how to really dominate and have a clear picture, put a one in the chat. I'd love to see your feedback. If you're driving, don't type. But if you're available to reach to the chat and put a one in the chat, please let me know, because that's going to help me. Feedback is the best currency. That one means a lot to me because I'm able to know exactly where you guys are and what you're thinking about too. So thank you, Ryan, for the one as well. Thank you for answering the questions and also being part of this example today where we're able to just get people to understand what they're looking for, because it can get complicated very, very fast, but we're able to demystify it as well. Thank you for the one, Daryl. Appreciate you. I know it's afternoon. People are like, yeah, it's a holiday season. So I understand, but I'm glad I came in here today to help you, help me help you really, really talk about it. So I'm glad that we talked about the topics today. I do have something that we're going to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about, tomorrow's Thursday. I'm going to be talking about, are you ready for this one? Are you ready for this one? I'm going to be talking about online reputation is SEO. Did you know that? Online reputation is SEO. We're going to break that down. What does that even mean? Because your reputation online is dependent on your content and your context. Like if you're going to get a job, if you're applying for an application, there are a lot of things people will check and they're like, let me check your profile to see if you're really who you say you are. And then it happens. I've had so many stories today. A client was telling me earlier today that she had a scenario where she wants to dominate. She's amazing in her space, but the problem was that the person she wanted to connect with didn't want to connect with her because she looked at her online profile and she didn't see the same thing she was expecting to see from the real person that she actually saw. So there was nothing wrong with the person. It was just that it wasn't shown in the same capacity or the same level online. So when you think about these things, you wonder, I can't get a grant or I can't get a loan or I can't get this kind of business because my website is not active or because I don't have anything to show. It's going to play a big role into your business at some point, right? We have another client today. I gave her 5 websites to get small business funding. There are 5 websites that you can actually get business funding as a business. You have great credit, Duns and Bradstreet, you have good information, you're good to go. There are platforms that you can actually get funding within 24 to 48 hours. And there are 5 of them. So I'm going to put the list together and I'm going to be putting it out for people to see it. And I'm feeling like if capital is the problem, then here's a capital. Now what? Now what are you going to do with it? And now it's for you to decide how you're going to position it, right? Nonprofit organizations, there's something called Google for Nonprofit, where you can actually, as a nonprofit, you can get 10 grand every month if you're a nonprofit, and you can use it to really make sure that you have a business and you can take that forward if you have a nonprofit, and Google will give you that. You have to first get qualified and apply, but it's there. So don't say there's no capital is not even money, it's what you have in your mind. That's actually the original word of the actual meaning of capital. What do you have in your mind? What is the capacity? Capital is capacity. So if you have the capacity to grow and you're thinking and growing rich, then definitely you can get to some really great results. So I'm glad that we talked about this today, and I hope you're able to take this information, run with it, use AI, use search results, dominate, and actually take the information that you've heard today and run with it. And then we'll talk about this when we talk about online reputation tomorrow. So I hope to see you there. And thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful Wednesday, wherever you are in the world. And I'm going to definitely see you guys soon. So take care, everyone. Good night, good evening. God bless and stay blessed.